I'm back with another project recipe layout we're gonna make today. If you are here in Utah, in the Kaysville area, I'd love to have you join us in person for a crop or just come shop in person sometime. Project recipes and instructions are available through your Creative Memories advisor. I'd be happy to add you to my email list and send you the PDF of these project instructions. For our crop here in Kaysville in the month of August, we're going to do the Seas Please project recipe. That's what was requested by my scrapbooking group. And as of the time I'm recording this, the Seas Please paper pack is still available. That's what's used here in this layout. I'm actually going to use some different paper for a couple of reasons, but this is a really fun and good outdoorsy kind of collection. It's got some that are more blues and water themed, but it also has a lot of other outdoor themed papers like mountains and trees and wildlife. And I felt like for the project recipe to do with a large group, it was going to be hard for me to provide enough of the papers in the colors that really made sense for this layout to be water themed, just using a few paper packs. So normally what I do is I open up one or two or three, however many we need, of the paper packs to divide up among everybody, and we try to use the whole pack among everyone in the project recipes. I felt like for this particular one, because it is water themed, we're doing dolphins, the papers pictured here are great with this layout and this design, but the other papers in this pack were not really a great fit for this layout, so I didn't feel like we could use some of these other ones. Because of that, I decided I'm going to do my example with a different collection and then give my scrapbookers the option of a bunch of different water themed papers that I have on hand. So we're going to do the same basic layout here with the same instructions, but I'm going to use the Serene Waters pack. So Serene Waters came out about a year ago. It's still available. It's very pretty, has a lot of fun, kind of almost more tropical watercolors, but you could definitely use these for just the lake or whatever. Doesn't have to be tropical water. Other collections you might want to take a look at, if you still have any of the recently retired Seaside collection, that would be really great for this project. Tropic Time also has some good ones that would really work well for this page layout. And some others I considered were the Totally Tonals and the blues that have come out recently. So there's like an Island Waters collection that has a lot of papers that would work nicely with this. There's the Baby Blue Totally Tonals, and that would go really well with this too. Or also you could use whatever you have on hand. I was just kind of looking for some blues and then something else to tie in, not necessarily this beige color, but I'll flip through some different papers and show you what we decide to pick. Serene Waters comes with two different paper packs, or there are two different options. One is a tone-on-tone paper pack, which means each page or each side is more monochromatic. The patterns are kind of light. And then there's the designer paper, which has more of a mix of colors on most of the pages, and usually has a more bold pattern or design. The tools we're going to need for this project are the 12-inch trimmer, the custom cutting system with the circles, and your blue blade. We're going to use some scissors for a little bit of trimming. I'm going to use the repositionable tape runner, and we're also going to use our border maker system with the Dolphins border cartridge that came out recently. So I'm going to set aside my tone-on-tone paper. I will give this as an option to the people in my scrapbooking group who come to make this layout, but I'm going to choose my papers from the regular designer pack. And for this layout, we're looking for probably one kind of more bold design that will be the center strip of both pages. You don't necessarily have to do that, but that's kind of what I have in mind. And then two other papers. One that's in their example is a darker blue and then a lighter blue, but if you wanted to play up more of the oranges, If you like that, you could definitely go that direction. Or if you're working with a different collection, does not have to be just blues, but just kind of keep in mind that the way the papers are going to get used, we're going to cut one sheet in half, and that becomes a big part of the background on each page. We're going to cut circles out of one sheet, and those will become the small circles that the dolphins are backing up against, and then also backgrounds for your pictures. And then one sheet that we're punching out dolphins and a couple of rectangular photo mats. So that's kind of how you can see which papers are going to be used in which places and decide which papers you want to use for each one. If you don't like the dolphins, you could do a lot of other borders here instead, and then maybe that opens you up to more colors that you might want to use across this page. So one of the features you might want to look for if you don't choose the dolphins, you can see it's kind of this punch out style here where we're punching dolphins out for the borders across the top and bottom, but we're using the punch residue, kind of the punch junk, as decorations on these circles. So some of the Creative Memories punches will work to give you that. Some of them will not be so great for that. So we're going to do that in this layout. And if you're going to change yours up a little bit with a different border punch, you might want to think about whether that's going to work for you or if you want to do something different in those circles. So here are some options. I should turn that over so you can see front and back. It's kind of a kelp seaweed design, kind of fishnet design on the back of that one. I like this one with the multicolor. That would be nice cut in half. And that has a nice water print on the back. This one's kind of like blue and green fish scales almost, I would say, with water on the back of that as well. This one's basically border strips. That might be kind of fun if you want to cut your borders out from these pieces. But you would need to maybe be a little creative about how you use that page. And the back of that is orange. Got this piece that is mostly white with fish of different colors, and on the back it's the kind of island waters blue color of little waves. So those are all of our options from this paper pack. I'm going to choose one with the multicolors to be my background piece, and I think I want it to be this one. But this was the other one I really liked and was thinking about. More of like that sunset impressionist style almost. Let's go with this little squares. We'll make that our background for this page. And now we're going to be looking for a piece where we could cut dolphin punches out of. I think it's going to be this one for me. And I'm not sure which side I'll use, but I think that'll be my dolphin punch page. And then I need one piece that will be the circles. And the circles also become backgrounds for the dolphins, so that's something to think about. Maybe orange, that would be kind of fun, since that's a big kind of theme, those orangey sunset colors in this collection. And if you want to go for less of a tropic vibe, this is maybe not the right collection, but I think I'm going to stick with this orange side that is the borders on the other side. And that's a really fun piece, but for this particular layout, that's not really the kind of stuff I'm going to use. So I'm going to set aside these extra papers. And then I'm going to start cutting and punching. So here's the cutting guide. The easy part is cutting this piece in half. I have my 12-inch trimmer marked with a little flag that shows where 6 inches are going to be. So I'm just going to line this up there. And when I'm cutting, I want to get all the colors on both sides. So I'm going to cut in this direction rather than cutting this way. Although you could have gone either way with this paper, whatever looks good for you. So that's my 2 halves of designer paper 1. Designer paper 2 is where we're going to punch the dolphins out. And designer paper 3 is going to be the circles. So I'm going to actually do number 3 next. Do all the circles. And that's going to be my orange paper. And you can kind of see, just because of what papers I've chosen, I actually have basically the same design, this kind of wavy, multicolored, but sort of monochromatic like variation. And on the other side, we've got this. I think this one's so fun. I need to think about this a little bit more, whether I want dolphins that are like this or dolphins that are more scaly, which I guess is not anatomically correct for dolphins. They don't really have scales. So maybe the more wavy lines is the winner for this project. All right, so in the instructions, when it's talking about the circles, it's pieces I, J, K, and L, and then also the ones they're calling M. So these 4 are the same size, and then these 6 are the same size. We're going to cut 4 using the, it says outside of the small circle custom cutting pattern, that's this one, with the blue blade. And then the option for the smaller circles is to use your circle punch or to use the inside of the middle circle with the blue blade. It doesn't really matter on this page where you cut, but I think I kind of want to preserve some of this. So I'm going to start my cutting on this portion, the back side of the paper. Because if I'm going to have some leftover, I like that sky, the sky border that was on the other side. Blue blade from the custom cutting system is the one that is the farthest away from the track. So that means if you put your blade on the inside track, it cuts the smallest compared to the red or green blades. On the outside, it cuts the largest. And the red blade is the one that's closest to the track. The green blade is kind of in between. But the blue blade is the farthest away, and that's just the one we're going to use today. I like to get mine pretty close to the edge, but you don't want to go so close that your blade is coming off. So I like to just double check that I'm not too close. And then I can cut my circle out. And I want 4 circles of this size. Let's do the same kind of thing here. Making sure my blade is not going to run off the edge or bump into this other circle I already cut. I'm going to show you another way you can save a little bit of paper. So we might be able to preserve more of this border to use for something else. Whoops, I snagged that when I was lifting it up. And on the cutting guide, it shows these 4 kind of grouped together with a fair amount left over on the edge, so we should have plenty to leave a border over here. And then the cutting guide has you cutting your 6 smaller circles. Oh, I did cut mine a little too close. But the cutting guide shows the 6 smaller circles kind of all in a row. So this one has a little bit of a nub, which I'm going to have to cover up with an embellishment or something when I put my page together. Not the worst thing that could happen, that's for sure, but I will try to be a little more careful and make sure I'm far enough away on this next one. I'm not gonna run into my circles I've already cut. Gosh, I did a different thing on this one. So I started to lift my blade up before I was finished on this, and then ended up cutting it a little crooked. I'm making all the mistakes today. I guess not all of them. I'm gonna clean that edge up just with these scissors. And then that's another spot where I can cover up a little error with a sticker or something. Okay, so 2 things I'm gonna suggest as far as like some paper saving techniques here. So the other circles, we're gonna cut out 6 using the inside of this larger pattern. Since we're gonna cover these up with pictures, I'm actually gonna cut one out of the center of each of my circles I already cut out. We're gonna end up looking like a little donut, but then we're gonna cut a photo and put that over this gutted little circle from the middle. So this will help us save a little bit of paper on our orange sheet. You don't have to be super, super careful about getting this right in the middle in this case, because we are gonna just cover that up. You could even cut a bigger circle out of this, obviously, because you've got plenty of wiggle room there. You could maybe even get 2, maybe not. Yeah, 2 is pushing it because you'd have to get them real close to each other to allow for the border to still be there for your photo. Okay, so we've got 4 circles cut out now. I'm going to try to get one right here. We'll see if that's big enough. I'm not sure if it is. Oh, looks like not quite. Okay, no, we're gonna skip that idea. So then, here's the piece I really wanted to save with the cute little sky. And here is the section we're gonna cut our last 2 circles out of. Making sure to get the 2 feet both in the track so we can cut that out nicely. One problem I sometimes have, or that I see other people have with the custom cutting system, is they'll set their blade feet only one in the track and the other foot is like hanging off the side. And then the blade will not cut. It just kind of wiggles around and scratches up your paper. So you want to watch out for that. If you start going around your paper and it feels like it's just not cutting right, that might be the problem. Which I just barely did. So you can see that little kind of hole almost that I cut into my paper. And that was because I had not set it down in the right spot. And this one I actually got just a little bit too close to the edge of that. It turned out fine. It ended up being like right at the edge, but it just made it so I couldn't slide my blade all the way around. So I have to do a little bit of extra cleanup on that. So now we have 6 of the small circles that are ready to be backgrounds for our dolphins once we cut those out. We've got 4 of the large circles that will be backgrounds for our photos. And to cut your photo out in a circle, like they've got here, you're gonna wanna use the same custom cutting system pattern that you used to cut out the large circles. So the smallest circle, we used the blue blade to cut out our mat. And then you can use, they're recommending the red blade to cut out your circle photo. But if you had a photo of the right size, you could use your green blade as well. You might want to double check against the guide that comes with your patterns just to see if your photo is going to cut nicely to do what you want on this page. So we're done with that, and now I've got at least one border plus maybe a little strip of other things that we could use on another project. We're done putting the circles together. I am not going to cut out any photos today, but I kind of just explained how you would do that. I am going to start working on dolphin borders next. So we've got the Border Maker system out. If you're not familiar with this, yours might be a different color. There have been some different colors. We're going to put our paper in using the guide, which pops out from the bottom. I am going to cut on this side with the wavy lines, and I'm going to cut across. So once your border is clipped in, or your paper is clipped in, you put the guide piece away underneath, and this top part holds your paper in place. Then your Border Maker cartridge goes in the housing, and you just punch all the way along to get your completed 12-inch border, or whatever length you want. You don't have to do a full 12 inches, but it does fit a full sheet of paper, so you can do 12 inches every time. And that's what each of our borders is going to look like, more or less, for the top and bottom. And we're going to save these little pieces because this is going to be the decoration on our circles. So some extra little cutesy dolphin punches. Okay, and then we're just going to repeat that a couple more times. Now I have 4 borders punched out and plenty of little dolphins to make decorations, plus plenty more to use for some other project if I wanted to. One thing I did consider for this piece in the page is if you wanted something that was a solid color, you might want to even choose a piece of cardstock. So the navy blue cardstock might look really nice for this, or another blue color. And another benefit of using the cardstock is you could do some of your borders in opposite directions and have them be the same color. And same goes for your dolphins. So you'll see in this layout here, in the dolphin decorations, all the dolphins are facing the same direction, which is fine and great and looks good. But if you wanted some of your dolphins to go one way and some the other way, you might want to consider just using a piece of cardstock, and then you've got the option to flip over on both sides. The rest of this piece is going to be used for a couple of photo mats, and then we'll have a little bit of extra. So let's cut those. Then I actually have one more choice to make still after this. I'm not sure if you can see this on the video because it's really slight, but there is a tiny, tiny bit of just jaggedness left from the Border Maker punch. It's not that big of a deal, but I want to clean that up before I cut my photo mats. So I've got just a sliver of trash left over. And we're going to do this 6.5 inches wide. We're making 2 large photo mats for 4x6 pictures. They're going to be 6.5 by 4.5. So this piece is just extra. And then 2 4.5-inch mats. And we'll also have a little bit extra left at the bottom of this piece. This is another place where if you wanted to do some gutting and save some of this paper, you definitely could, because these will get covered up and you won't need to see anything but the border on the outside of your photo mats. Okay, I should have mentioned before that in the project recipe using the Seas Please paper, the recommendation for the backgrounds of each paper was to use the beige cardstock, which looks really nice with those colors. It's great. However, I don't love beige with these brighter, more tropical colors. It's okay. I'll show you what that looks like, but I think I'd like to choose something else instead. So here is the beige cardstock. If we were to put these on here, I mean, it's certainly not terrible, but it's just not my favorite. Especially once we get this orange going on here. I feel like the orange, I'm really not loving with the beige. So, a couple of options. One, I could definitely pick some other background paper from the Serene Waters collection. There are a lot of pretty options. Anything else you have that would look good with this could work too. I mentioned the collection Seaside that Creative Memories recently had. That one has a lot of great papers that would be good backgrounds with these or with others. I also have some of this very old 12 by 10 Creative Memories paper. So you can see it's not a 12 by 12 sheet. It's actually smaller. I was thinking maybe this would be fun because it kind of looks like sand. But I'm going to look through the other papers from the Serene Waters collection and see if I liked any of these better as a background. And if not, I'll come back here. I think for me, this one is my strongest contender, if I can say that. Either side of this I think would work really nicely with the papers I've gotten out. So that's pretty. Looks good with the orange, obviously, because it's designed to go with the orange. The fish print also looks good with all of this stuff. So let's compare that to my sand backgrounds over here and see how I feel about that. Ooh, so the orange is kind of fighting with this sand color. So that doesn't look great. And another option, I didn't pull it out, but I should mention the Serene Waters collection also has a really pretty vellum paper pack. So you could use the vellum for any of these, the backgrounds, or any of the other papers we've cut up. I think the vellum would be really pretty thrown in this mix. If you're using vellum as a background paper, you probably want to put it down onto a Creative Memories page or another white or plain background, because whatever's behind it is going to show through a little bit. Okay, I think I have a winner. It's going to be this paper here with the little fishies on the one side, but I just really like this subtle teal blue waves. But that's going to be my background paper for this layout. So when my croppers get together and we're looking at options for each of them to choose for their project recipe during our August crop, I'll give them all these options and have some other things for them to choose from as well. So some people might decide they really want the beige paper and that's going to be best with the other papers they choose, especially if they stick with the C's Please pack. That might be the best option for them. So now we're at the point where we're just going to put all this stuff together. And I will probably fast mode through everything. I will mention that because this has a little bit of a delicate cutout to it, the repositionable tape runner is probably your best bet. You could use other adhesives, but you might have to be a little extra careful with those so the adhesive doesn't show through. And I will pause and come back at regular speed when we're ready to put together our circles with the dolphins. Okay, so I've attached all the other pieces. The ones we have left are our small circles that are going to get decorated with some dolphins and waves. And I will show you how we're going to do one of those, and then I'll put the rest together again in fast speed. So you don't have to watch me do every single one in real time. So for each little circle, you're going to just attach a wave and a dolphin. And I would use repositionable adhesive for this as well. But if you'd rather, the precision point adhesive will work great for this too. You could probably even use your regular tape runner if you are very careful about it, or another adhesive. And I just want to make sure my lines on my pieces are all going the same direction. I'll put together one little dolphin with its wave. And then I'll trim it with some scissors because this wave is a little bit longer than the circle is, obviously. And then I'm going to try to make all my circles look pretty similar to this one. And as you might have noticed when I was placing my large circles, I decided instead of trying to cover up those little places where I messed them up with a sticker later, I was just going to do a tiny bit of overlapping, and that solved my problem there. So there's a dolphin with its wave. I'm going to pull that little piece off. It could have fit on there, but it was going to be a little bit of a hassle to make it stay. So I'm going to try to make all 6 of my circles look basically just like that. So now all my dolphins are done, and I have a couple of recommendations. I will share these recommendations with my scrapbookers that come in August, but maybe you would like to know them too. First recommendation is, I'll just say, I feel like I did this out of order. Probably the instructions, if I were to read them more closely, already recommend this. But I would say to put together your dolphins on your circles, the easiest way is going to be to use your punched borders as a guide. So you can actually place your little circle underneath the border itself and then adhere your dolphin and the border or the wave piece using this as your template. That would help you get all of your dolphins in like exactly the same. So I would do that first before adhering my other pieces. Second is when putting together the other pieces on the page, I would recommend putting your dolphin borders down first at whatever distance you want from the top and bottom, because that will help you with your spacing of your other circles. So that was something as I was putting them together, I felt like would have been helpful if I had done it that way. But since I've already done it, now I have the recommendation for other people. So we're going to put our 3 dolphin circles on each side of our large photo mats. And I'm kind of just trying to make sure the ones I've got together look pretty similar, not all at very weird different angles. But yeah, I do have my dolphins kind of diving at different angles, but I'm not terribly worried about it. I think I'm going to adjust this one a little bit. He's the only one who's looking significantly different from the others. Other than that, I think they are mostly pretty good, mostly pretty similar. So I'm going to go ahead and attach those, and then I'm going to be done with this page for now until I find some pictures. And I have some pictures in mind that I would love to put on this layout, but they're not ones I can find. My husband's family went to Costa Rica several years ago, and we had a nice vacation around Christmas time. It was a lot of fun. We got to do a lot of cool things. One of the things that my husband and some of his siblings did with their dad was go deep sea fishing. I chose not to go do that day. I did not want to be stuck on a boat out in the middle of the ocean all day long. But while they were fishing, they saw a big pot of dolphins, and the way he tells it, there were hundreds of dolphins. He being my husband. They saw all these awesome dolphins jumping all around where their boat was fishing. They weren't fishing for dolphins, obviously, but whatever swordfish or whatever they were fishing for at the time. And there were just all these dolphins around. It was amazing. And he got actually really good video and a bunch of pictures. And after that trip, his sister, who had done that boating excursion also, she was putting together an album for everybody and asked for all of our pictures. And when I went to send her the pictures of them fishing and the other things that my husband and I had done, because every part of the family kind of did their own little thing some of the days, I couldn't find our pictures anymore. And it's totally my fault, I'm sure. But at some point after that trip, I took a memory card out of a camera, because this was back in the day before we took all of our pictures on our phones. But we had an actual camera with a removable memory card, and did something with that memory card that we never found it again. So it's very sad. We lost all of our pictures from that trip, plus some other pictures, and since then I have been a lot better about backing up my photos somewhere safe. Anyway, here's my layout. I think this is going to be a really fun one, and I'm really excited to see what everybody else does, because based on the pictures you're going for and what kind of papers and designs and what kind of like feeling, if you want to have it feel more warm, or like in the Seas Please version to be a little more cool colors, I think you can accomplish a lot of different things with this layout just with a little bit of variation in the colors that you choose for your papers. So I'm excited to see what my scrapbookers decide to do with this and how everybody's pages turn out. Thanks!